afternoon for all of you. We'd like to warmly welcome you all to the first webinar of the TURBOCliC webinar series 2020. As a cross-sectoral group comprising of colleagues from TUEWAS and the sector network Governance Asia, we are working on topics of localizing international agendas, inclusive cities, urban governance, financing urban infrastructure, resilience and low carbon in the space of cities and climate change. The webinar series aims at exchanging experiences and good practices among our members as well as other interested colleagues. Today's webinar will be about ICT-based adaptation to climate change in cities. The global program brings together expertise in urban development, climate change adaptation, and information and communication, or ICT. Together with partners, the aim of the program was to develop, customize, and test digital solutions that engage citizens in the co-creation of their cities to achieve urban resilience in Peru, Mexico, and India. The goal of the webinar is to present the overall approach and results of the project and spread knowledge and learnings nationally and internationally. So just to show to you how the agenda would run, the program would run. So I am Vaishali Nandan. I'm heading a project for climate smart cities and also the ICT adaptation for climate change for the project, the India component, and I'm a joint speaker for TURBOCliC. The ICT-based adaptation to climate change in cities, the program approach and learnings would be presented by Dr. Teresa Kerber, head of program. The ICT at India, Bhubaneswar, and how the project was done, the co-created digital solution for urban flooding called Move City Savior will be presented by Mr. Shahbaz Khan, technical expert, and we would then be having an interactive discussion and audience with the audience. So classically a 15-minute or 20-minute maximum input presentation, and then we would go on with the discussion so that you can gain maximum around it. So after, and you could already, while the presentations are going on, put your questions in the chat, and these could then be taken on during the presentation. So the first presentation, let me just introduce you briefly. Teresa Kerber is currently head of global program, ICT adaptation to climate change in cities, ICTA, as well as the advisory program International Smart Cities Network at the GIZ. Prior to that, she was a knowledge management specialist in the division Methods, Digital Transformation and Innovation at GIZ's sectoral department. Her areas of specialization include ICT for development, urban development, climate change, adaptation and mitigation, governance, local economic development, value chains, and energy. She is working at GIZ head office after supporting international development projects in Asia and Latin America, as well as working for private sector and academic institutions in Germany. She received a PhD in engineering from Hamburg University of Technology in 2005. Teresa, may I request you to take over as a presentation and start.
Thank you very much, dear Vaishali. Can everybody hear me more or less? Okay, thank you very much. We are the global program ICT-based Adaptation to Climate Change in Cities. GIZ is implementing this program on behalf of the Federal Ministry of the Environment, Natural Conservation and Nuclear Safety as part of the International Climate Initiative and in cooperation with the Federal Ministry of the Interior, Building and Community, the BMI. A little bit about our area of work. We work in the intersection between sustainable urban development, climate change adaptation, and digital transformation. Regarding climate change adaptation, as a preparation for the last COP, not the one in Madrid, but the one before in Katowice, the IPCC published a special report, Global Warming of 1.5 degrees. And there is also a summary for urban policymakers. They always talk about transformational adaptation. Transformational adaptation is a deep systemic change that requires the reconfiguration of social and ecological systems. We have been working in the area of development cooperation for many years, and we already know when we ask who wants change, everybody wants change. Who wants to change, then it is another story. The story is very different. In order to achieve a transformational adaptation to climate change, a systemic change, we need more ambition and we need the participation of all citizens. According to one of the principles of the Agenda 2030, leave no one behind. The German Advisory Council on Global Change published last year a study called Our Common Digital Future. And they stated that without digitalization, the SDGs and NDCs are not achievable. But in order to put the digital transformation at the service of the transformation towards sustainability, the potential and risks of digital technologies and solutions must be understood and aligned with the SDGs worldwide. Digitalization has to be done right. If we do not consider the principles of digital development, it can really backfire, and the digital divide can start growing instead of be closed. GIZ already signed the principles of digital development in 2017. One of the principles is, for example, design with the user. We already know, I think we all know Google Play Store. There is a full of apps that most of the apps, only a very tiny group of people are using these apps. Why? Because they have not been designed with the user. For us, it's also important to design for scale, use open standards, open data, open source, and open innovation, and build for sustainability. In the global program ICT-based Adaptation to Climate Change in Cities, we started working with the principles for digital development, but then we noticed the principles were not enough for us. So we designed our own strategic principles in order to implement the program very well for our partners and for our commissioners. For example, one of the strategic principles is foster citizen participation and open innovation, but also contribute to existing urban planning processes in our partner countries and partner cities. We design a citizen-centered innovation process with different stages that we follow in each partner city. First, the city selection along with the national level in each partner country. And we signed an MOU between GIZ and the partner city. Then we defined the climate challenge in a workshop with city officials, public sector, private sector, and representatives from the citizens and NGOs. Then we run the citizen-centered innovation process according to the situation in each partner city, with different agile methods like hackathons, sprints, and so on. design thinking, and after that, the digital solutions were coded. Then a pilot phase followed, and at the end of the pilot phase, we organize usually a wrap-up workshop and prepare the transfer for a second city in another, in the same country. Very short that before we go to India, the digital solution for Mexico is called Arbol IoT. The Municipality of Guadalajara, the Department of Environment, has 8 employees. And with these 8 employees, the 8 employees would need 260 days to map all 502,000 trees of the city. With the digital solution that we develop along with the city officials and citizens, all citizens can map all trees of the city in 1 day. It's using crowdsourcing with a gamification concept, and is also it also gives the citizens information about how to take better care of trees and how to inform the city in case they find diseases and plagues in trees. The digital solution has 3 main parts: an environmental sensor, do it yourself, not so reliable like a commercial sensor, but the alternative would be to have no data. These environmental sensors are very cheap, €100 each, and can also be used to raise awareness among the citizens. The second part is a web app and a backend platform that you can access freely via the internet. And the third part is a mobile app with augmented reality to map the trees. The digital solution in Peru is called Ayudamos. Before the floods because of El Niño in 2017, the municipality of Trujillo needed 3 months to map the damages of the floods, and the data was not reliable because they were using pen and paper, and some pieces of paper got lost, and this is always the data was not really reliable, and the mayor asked us to come up with a solution to gather data that he needed in order to plan the infrastructure for the future and climate-proof the infrastructure. The new crowdsourcing platform is gathering data in real time. The data is reliable. It is also engaged the citizens for transformational adaptation to climate change. The digital solution is called Ayudamos and also has 3 main parts. The first is a meteorological station with 7 sensors. This is part of the early warning system. Then an app for Android and mobile phones. The second version is also a hybrid version that also works in iPhones. And with this app is like a WhatsApp group but with a map. And in case of a flooding or in case of a drill, I can ask my family, where are you? I am in the market and there is no water here, so no problem. Or maybe the water is already at your knees and you can contact your family and also contribute to the mapping in real time of the municipality. The third part is a dashboard for municipality officials where they can see the floods in real time in the city and also gather the data for climate proofing the infrastructure. Now that digital solution in Peru was also transferred and adjusted and improved in the city of Kochi in India. Now we stay in India. Vaishali?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Teresa, for the overview and a brief view into Mexico and Peru, the solutions developed there. So now I would like to introduce The second speaker to you, he's Mr. Shahbaz Khan. He's the technical expert with the project, the ICTA project in India. Shahbaz is a development practitioner with 5 years of working experience in development cooperation, disaster risk reduction, climate change adaptation, and humanitarian emergencies in India, Nepal, and Bangladesh with UNICEF, Radar India, and geohazards, including GIZ. He holds a master's in disaster management from TIS, bachelor's in University, and also BMGF Disaster Risk Resilience Leadership Fellow. Shahbaz, the floor is yours. Would you like to take over as presenter, please?
Thank you so much. Hello everyone. So as you got to know about the ICTA program, so it is a global program we are implementing in 3 countries, Peru, Mexico, and India. So in India, we are primarily started this project in Bhubaneswar, and in Bhubaneswar, we are working on urban flooding issue. So we are trying to we developed a digital solution to address urban flooding issue in Bhubaneswar. That solution called Move City Savior. Move City Savior means I am the city savior. It is in local word. So why we are working in Bhubaneswar, and what is why we are working on urban flooding in Bhubaneswar? So Bhubaneswar is a coastal city. It is very close to Bay of Bengal, and it is a growing city. So it is also facing several climate challenges. So major challenges for Bhubaneswar are heat wave and climate urban flooding because of erratic rainfall. So you can see like there are few newspaper cuts like which is showing that few hours of only 1 hour of rainfall is causing urban flooding in Bhubaneswar. And photo which where you will see like floating cars. That is basically National Highway, just next to National Highway, and it is the situation here. And then on the right side, that is a slum area, which is also getting flooded, and then highways, everything is getting flooded. It is only because of 20 minutes or 30 minutes rain. So as Teresa mentioned, so we are using agile methodology. That is design thinking methodology we call. So it is basically in our sector it is rarely used, but yeah, most of the private sectors, they are using it to develop their solutions. They want to develop their products. So it has like 5 major parts. One is empathize. So they try to understand what is need of users or need of beneficiaries and how they want to see that output or that product, so that they do empathize research, try to understand their pain points, their comments. Then they go for defining that challenge or define that product, like what and how it should look. Then again they involve all users as well as beneficiaries to ideate that solution or product. And finally they develop a prototype, and then you test that prototype and continuously improve, and after a certain point of time you finalize that product, and then you go for testing with user as well as beneficiaries. It is our, so as Teresa mentioned, like we had strategic principles. So one of our key strategic principles is co-creation. It is like we don't want to develop something in silo. So we wanted to involve everyone. So you will see BMC officials. So BMC is Bhubaneswar Municipal Corporation. We included them. Indian Meteorological Department, Bhubaneswar Smart City, citizens, they are our key stakeholder. Drain cleaning agency who are cleaning drains, as well as Odisha State Fire Department. They are there because they are the people who rescue whenever there is any kind of flood-like situation, because they are especially trained in that. So this is the process. Pretty much Teresa again in her slide mentioned, like first we selected the city. So it was based on a rapid assessment, considering city's vulnerability, city's digital ecosystem, city's willingness. And then we defined a challenge through a workshop where we involved citizens, city officials, and private actors. Then in sprint 1, that was kind of a form of workshop there. We ideated the solution. Second sprint, we involved technical teams who are going to design this whole solution and were developing the solution. After that was solution was prepared, so we piloted with city officials, because they are the users, and then also with citizens because they are the beneficiary as well as user. And now we are at the last stage, so we are wrapping up. We are developing our transfer package because we want this solution to be transferred to other cities, because it should not be very much for only one city. So that is another strategic principle, that's whatever we are developing, that should be transferable. So I'll run you through this whole process. So it was first empathy research. So I'm not going to read all because we don't have enough time. I'll just mention few comments of citizens. So if you see, these were when we are doing empathy research, so they said they are complaining that city is not cleaning the drains properly or every time, and then there are people saying that people don't complain. So there could be several reasons. They don't have proper platform to complain, or they just don't want to complain. And then we do not get early warning. So that is another challenge which is making them vulnerable, because we don't have any kind of early warning system in city or urban flooding at least. So when we discussed about pain points, so their pain point, one of the major pain point was their children can't go to school. So it is not only going to school, they can't also go to or access critical services. It could be hospital, it could be market, it could be bank. So it is one of their comment. And then they are also scared of getting diseases like skin diseases because whenever there is a flood, their houses stops getting inundated. So when we ask what they want, how they think that situation can be better, we can improve the situation. So they said if we can implement some kind of policy to clean or some kind of intervention which will ensure that drains are well maintained. And sometimes it is made because there are cities growing, so cities drainage capacity also very limited. Then when we discussed with BMC officials who are responsible for managing this event and cleaning drains and maintaining drains, so very interestingly, if you see the first point, so it is saying that 90% flood occurs. According to them, 90% flood occurs due to blockage in drains. So it is because people are throwing solid waste there, and sometimes because of rainwater, it is carrying those runoff water is carrying waste, and which is blocking the drains. And then they also accept the fact that drainage capacity is very low because cities developing very rapidly. If you see all South Asian cities, these are definitely growing very rapidly. And then there is another point they mentioned, that is they have only 4 pumps, and during rainy season they hire from private actors 15 more pumps to ensure that they can fetch water from inundated areas. So it also shows that they have very limited resources with them. So when we discuss again with them about their pain points, so that was one of the key points. So if you see that bold point, so they are saying that if they know where and how much blockage are there, so then they can prioritize the cleaning, and then it will reduce the chances of getting inundated. And for that, what they need computerized information system. They want to go for network-centric approach rather than blanket kind of approach. And then when we discussed with drainage cleaning agency, so they also mentioned same thing, that drains need to be cleaned frequently, and they are having problem of getting information about drainage status of drains, because most of them are covered, and sometimes it is not easy to track all the drainage network. So based on our research, we found 3 opportunity spaces where we can support the city. That was one of them was flood response. So it is again very response centric rather than preventive. Then there was another option, that flood damage minimization through giving early warning, or other information to cities, but then again it is kind of responsive. But then when we found another option, that is like flood prevention, which will not only prevent such kind of incident, but also catering other two areas or opportunity spaces, because it will also help in flood response, because there will be less pressure and it will also minimize the damage. So when we wanted to define the challenge and we involve all city officials, public, academicians, and then private actors, so we, considering all the result of empathy research, we came up with this final statement that how we are going to help BMC, the Bhubaneswar Municipal Corporation officials, to know about drainage status in Nayapalli and Shatabdi Nagar, because those are the most vulnerable points in Bhubaneswar or areas in Bhubaneswar, so that they can get live as well as dynamic information about drains, and they can optimize their resource deployment to prevent urban flooding. So how it is going to help? So before I show the whole system, I'll just show the process. So if you see the first screen, so in middle you will see one senior citizen. So he came and he was showing and he was drawing like how these things are happening, why it is happening. And then in first image you will see like city officers, experts, citizens, they are sitting together and trying to like ideate solution. And in third image, you will see one of our technical expert, not technical expert, but the technical member of team. She is discussing or testing the prototype with students, like after developing the solution. So this is our overall system. So this system, the core of the system is there is one analytical system which is supported by a algorithm. And it is then supported by geoinformatics system, which has base map, which has information about vulnerability or vulnerable locations, drainage network map, then hydrological model, which is then there is the main one of the component of our entire system, that is the volunteer app. So through this app, volunteers or citizens, they can keep information or provide information about drainage blockage, drainage water flow, and then the level of water in drains. And whenever these two information goes together to the analytical system, it helps to prioritize BMC or show them through a dashboard that where that kind of blockage is happening, or what kind of, in those critical locations, what kind of problem they have, so they can take action accordingly. So this dashboard also helps them to provide or share that information with supervisors who are on field, who are responsible for clean drains. So this application provides them that exact what kind of problem they are having and where exactly, so they can directly go there and address the solution. And this application also have a report back option. So whenever they are addressing or clearing that problem or issue, they will report back, which will feed to this dashboard. Then we used gamification concept to ensure that these people are using this application to them. So we have some kind of reward system for citizens if they are reporting. So these are our main components of our digital solution. One is City Savior app for volunteers. One is dashboard for city officials to know about where and what kind of severity of problem they are having or issues. And then finally, the supervisor app through which supervisors get information and they can report back after cleaning. So this is how this volunteer app works. So whenever you will install and open this application, it will show you the nearest critical point. It will also navigate you to go there using Google Map. And then you have to just choose 3 images. So you can show like say that, okay, here we have garbage. So you just choose the first photo. Or if there is less garbage, you just choose the last photo. And then water flow, whether it is stagnant or not, or it is flowing nicely or well, then you can choose accordingly. And then again, the level of water. So it is high, low, or medium that you can choose. And after you complete, you will get points. So that is the reward system. And this is the digital solution for, or the component for city dashboard for city officials. So through which they can see those critical locations. Whenever citizens are reporting, it is kind of like real-time dashboard. So they will immediately see that, okay, where exactly what kind of problem they are having. And from here, they can also assign those people, because those information, even supervisors information are there. So they can see and exactly allocate the person. And it has other components also. They can also use it for planning, because it has information about their drainage network, contour map, and everything, so that they can do. And also it will help them to analyze over the year. They can get or gather information about those critical points which are getting flooded frequently. So the second dashboard is about whom they assigned what kind of work and whether it is complete or not. So this is for monitoring purpose. And this is the application for supervisors. So they will get, so it is like they have to put their mobile number, and they will get a unique password from BMC, so that they have to put. Whenever they are entering, they will see a map with those assigned locations. They can also choose for list options. So you'll see like these have different color code based on severity. And if they are clicking on those particular points, it will also show like what kind of problem they have. So they can utilize a resource very optimally, so they know like what kind of challenge they have and what kind of machinery they need, how many people they need, so they can utilize that information. And after going, and it will also direct them to that particular location, like where the challenge or that problem is happening, so they can go, and after cleaning they can report back. So this is the brain of our system. That analytical system has the algorithm I mentioned. So this is the algorithm. It helps to prioritize those locations, like where they need to act first and which kind of like problem they need to solve. So that is based on a algorithm that it has like three major components. One is vulnerability score. So based on type of population, the land use pattern or land use land cover, as well as it also has information about citizens, how many people are staying there, and how is there any kind of critical infrastructure like hospital, school. Then we also have hydrological score information, that is about the drainage type, drainage resultant score, drainage, how far it is from the main point or main junction of the drain, that information. And then it is then there is flow status. Flow status is the information which citizens are providing us. So you will see the other like indicators we use to calculate those. Like for vulnerability score, we used land use, building, population, critical infrastructure. For hydrological, we use stream resultant score, distance from main outlet, drain construction type. And flow status is reported by app. It is about the garbage level, water flow. So how this digital solution is helping, or the advantages of this digital solution is like it is promoting crowdsourcing. It is not only crowdsourcing, it is like using information or crowdsourcing information for cities development. So it is also helping us to gather data, monitor the drains through citizens. So if you see like how it is different from other two solutions, that here we are not using any sensor, it is all about citizens and city officials. So beneficiaries as well as users and how they are helping. So it is also developing kind of ownership about that tool among citizens as well as city officials. Algorithm. So this is the algorithm, so which is helping us to take informed decision rather than going for blanket kind of approach. Then yeah, definitely as citizens they are using, or they are going and seeing like what kind of problem their drains are having whenever they are reporting. So it is also creating awareness among them. So at least those people who are reporting, they are not going to throw solid waste in their drains or nearby areas. So these are how we made this application to public. So we did community outreach events. So we did 10 events in those Nepali and Satabdi area, which is our pilot area. And we explained this application to citizens, and we told them like how to use. So, and it was not done by any experts. It was done by only college students. So there were like around 40 college students or volunteers. They did it. And we also conducted one launching event that particular area in a school, and then we also did their painting and quiz competition about urban flooding and climate change. So it is also creating awareness among children of that particular area. And then you will see the first photo. It is about our achievement, what we have achieved till today. So we launched this application last December, and the city officials, they were quite impressed with this application, and they thought like it is very useful. So they nominated this application for a national level award, which is given by Government of India, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. So they nominated this application under Best Climate Smart Cities Award, and that award was under India Smart City Empowering Award. So it is a national level award where all 100 smart cities participated, and this application won the first prize as a Best Climate Smart City project. So how we are going to sustain and how we are ensuring sustainability of this application. So now this application is taken over by city completely, and now so this is the image of Bhubaneswar's command and control system, control room. So they are integrating that dashboard here, and they are going to host this application under their Bhubaneswar.me platform. So it will be like part of a larger application which Bhubaneswar has. So it is kind of to ensure that there are not so many apps and so many different platforms to report. So it will actually confuse citizens. So that's why the city decided to put it in Bhubaneswar.me platform instead of having it as a standalone system. And they also they are now they are investing a lot of resources here because they wanted to cover whole city. So they requested us to provide technical support, but yeah, majorly that financial thing will be carried out by them and taken over by them. And they also planning to like float contract for operation and maintenance of this application for next 7 years. So yeah, this is it, and now we are open for question, I guess.
Okay, thank you so much, Shabazz. So now I think it's question hour. Would there be any questions? I don't see any in the chat currently, so maybe I have a couple of my own before there are some more questions coming in. Okay. So there's already quick questions now. That's fantastic. So there's one from Agnes. She's saying that I assume it is already an incentive to use the volunteer app to achieve improvements. You are also saying that users can get points. What do you get, or what are the points for? So this is for Shabazz.
So should I answer it first?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So it is till now it is very virtual kind of, and then what city is planning to give, like whoever report the most, so they will get best citizens certificate from BMC. And when it will be part of the Bhubaneswar.me, they also have incentive, like they will get tickets for free parking, they will get bus tickets. So that is under process, but till now the city, they are saying that they will provide best citizen certificate.
Okay, great. What is the platform used for the app?
This question is, I need a little bit more clarification.
Maybe the iOS, so maybe Mahmudur, if you could also elaborate a little. Then there is one, how long did it take to set it up? What were the costs? So maybe Shabazz, you, and then maybe Teresa, you could also tell about the cost for the other two applications, since there are three that we're talking about.
Yeah. So this application took us to develop almost a year, but now we have transfer package. So considering that transfer package and our experience from Peru to Kochi, we don't think it should take more than 3 months to set up similar kind of system for any cities. So that is like for new solution, develop new solution, it will take nearly a year, but for transferring it will take 3 months, and definitely it depends on city's willingness.
Okay, and Teresa, maybe for Mexico and Peru, the costs, and maybe also for here, the costs.
The cost in India were approximately 2 contracts. One for the design thinking process for the first sprint. We wanted the digital solution to be sustainable and to be anchored in the local digital ecosystem. So we hired one company from Odisha, from Bhubaneswar, for the design thinking process. It cost almost 45,000 euros. And the second big contract was for the coders. And they transformed the prototype that we got from the design thinking process, program it, adjusted to the GIS maps from the city, and mapped all the critical points for started piloting. And after the pilot phase, they also included all feedback from the citizens and city officials and from our side in the new updated version of the app. And this was also 50,000 euros. And it took 1 year. The same in Peru and in Mexico. In Peru, the process was a little bit cheaper because we were working very close with universities, with the local universities, and they wanted to support the process and supported us with, for example, locations for the hackathons and lunch for the students that were participating in the hackathons and so on. And in Mexico, it was also a little bit cheaper because the municipality was very engaged. They organized the main events at the location of the municipality, so the process was at the end also a little bit cheaper for us. But approximately 100,000 euros in 1 year. It can also be done faster, but the most important part is really to leave no one behind and take all the citizens with you in the process, not only the digital ones or the students or digital natives, but everybody, also the grandma and also the children and so on.
Thank you, Teresa. That's really interesting. Leave no one behind. So then there's the next question from Vibhor. He's saying, are there plans to mainstream or integrate the app with other official apps of Government of India, Government of Odisha?
So as I mentioned, like we are trying to mainstreaming or add this application in Bhubaneswar.me platform, which is the application for cities. It is integrated tool, so through which you will get information about almost everything, and then you can also raise your any other grievance, any services, online services. So it is already planned and it is happening. We are actually working on it. So we had recently meeting with the technical team, and they are working very closely. But due to this COVID thing, we had to postpone it for a little while.
Okay, thank you so much, Shabazz. So I think the questions from Aloka and Mushraf, I think they're answered. In case they're not, please put it again in the chat. For Mohammadur, is the platform open source?
Yeah, it is completely open source.
Yeah.
So Teresa, would you like to add? And even we also uploaded our source code in GitHub, so anyone can access. Yeah, Teresa, please.
Yes, thanks, dear Shabas. The platform, all three platforms are open source, and because we are following the principles of digital development, that means we want to use open source so that the digital solution can be easily scalable to every other parts of the city or to other cities in the world. And 2 years ago, Microsoft bought GitHub. So our partner cities are now thinking, should we leave the source code, the open source code on GitHub, or maybe also upload it in other platforms? And there are some alternatives, but the source code, the whole transfer package with the source code and motivational videos and brochures and tutorials and so on is not property of GIZ, but the property of our partners. And I think they have to decide where to upload this transfer package. In case of India, the BMC has already been discussing this with Vaishali and Shabas. In case of Mexico, they are already very advanced and are considering the open source platform from the MIT, from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And in case of Peru, the government of Peru already has their own platform for geo-reference data, and the transfer package with the whole open source code has already been uploaded there. But only in Spanish. We are translated into English at the moment.
Okay, thank you so much. There's one more from Enamel. For you, Teresa, how they maintain the sensors in different area? Who will take care of the sensors? What are the procedures? What time, or what is the time that it takes? And how can the procedure for updating of the apps?
The procedure for updating the apps is different in each partner country. In case of Bhubaneswar, the BMC and the Bhubaneswar Smart City Limited, it is their digital solution, and they have to decide when to update it when for example, new needs appear. In case of Peru, for example, our first partner municipality is already updating the app, including different needs in case, not only in case of floods, how can I reach my family and send the data to the municipality, but also in case of earthquakes, for example. And regarding the sensors are very easy to maintain. They're really cheap do-it-yourself sensors that everybody can maintain. Our colleagues in Mexico, Arturo and Ingrid, went to the schools and teach the students in the schools how to use the sensors, and how to maintain the sensors. During the pilot phase, we only had a determinate amount of sensors, but that sensors are not in a very specific area. They are mobile. And this is also a huge advantage if you compare it with the commercial sensors. The commercial sensors are very expensive, and you cannot move it. They stay, for example, in the market, and they stay forever there. But the do-it-yourself sensors are very cheap, but also mobile. And some sensors were also prizes as part of the gamification concept to motivate the citizens of Guadalajara to participate. The sensors and mobile phones were the prizes.
Okay, great. So I think Ronnie just took the last question. More nice. What were the biggest challenges while the design of the solutions and implementing the pilots? Maybe from both your perspectives, Teresa, as well as Shabaz, because they're different perspectives. So what would be the biggest challenges?
Should I go first?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for implementation and piloting, I won't say that we had much challenges, but yeah, initially we had challenges to bring everyone in same table, because citizens, city officials, bringing them in same table is difficult, and in few cases we had difficulties to convince officials about climate change. So it was one of our challenge, but it didn't take us much time to overcome, because if we have evidence-based kind of approach, so I think with that we can bring together that will help us to overcome. And then definitely bringing, like citizens and city officials, and whenever they are in same platform, so they tend to like blame each other. So that we can easily handle through moderation, or whoever is moderating. So we have to be very careful, and we have to listen everyone. So we have to give chance everyone to speak up. So that can be easily handleable. So those were our biggest challenge, but we handled it quite nicely in India.
Thank you, Shahbaz. And
in case of the city of Bhubaneswar, our partners in Bhubaneswar are already very digital. They have very high digital competencies. But in other countries, it was very difficult for us because the digital competencies of our partners were not very high. And in some municipalities, they love digital technologies, and they were asking us, oh, let's work with drones, or let's work with but the technology has to be the answer to a problem or to a challenge. And in order to discuss the challenge first, and then try to find which digital technology would be the best answer, we develop like a game. The game is called the Smart City Sushi. And then you have to manage, you have to match the challenges in your municipality with the different digital technologies. And the second biggest challenge, from my very personal point of view, were let's say the procurement procedures and administrative procedures that GIZ has to follow because it's ruled in the European Union. For example, if you hire a team to develop the design thinking process with the citizens and with the city officials, and at the end you are going to have a prototype. But at the very beginning, you have no idea how this prototype is going to look like. You only know that the climate challenge that is important for the city of Bhubaneswar is urban floodings. But how the prototype is going to look at the very end, you cannot know. And it's very difficult to anchor this in a very restrictive procurement system. But we found our way. It's not easy, but it's possible.
thank you, Teresa. I think I would echo also the making of the TORs, probably also an equally big challenge. So there's one more question from Liju. He's asking how adaptive is the app for upscaling to pan-city level and also to other cities in India?
So
Shahbaz?
yeah, so in cities in Bhubaneswar, what we are doing, so we just implemented in 2 places, and now we are going for the entire city. And I will say, like, it is it doesn't take much effort, because we just need to do a survey, and that can be done through volunteers and city officials. So it is very easy process. It is not even costing us. So entire city. So we covered only 20% of the city initially when we are doing the piloting, and now we are covering the entire city. So which will hardly cost us around 1,000 euro. So it is like 1 lakh Indian rupees. So which is like considering the cost and the time it requires, I will say it is very easy to upscale. And for in other cities, so I would like to give example of Peru. So it is not even other city, it is coming from completely different country, and we are implementing it in Kochi. So it shows its agility and its flexibility to get implemented in any city all over the globe.
Okay, thank you so much. I have just one last, word that I would like to give to both of you. And if you could just tell us, maybe Teresa, you start from your perspective, the main lessons learned during the process. And since you are also towards the end of the project now, you would also be able to highlight. And then maybe Shabazz, you go ahead and talk about the main lessons learned for you.
My lesson learned is for the next time, start working with the citizens as soon as possible. During the design thinking processes in the 3 countries, we try to be as diverse as possible. The more diverse the group, the more difficult is going to be the process, but the result is going to be better. So leave no one behind again.
Great, thank you. And Shabazz?
So I also have similar kind of experience. Like I had really good experience. Like when we involve citizens, which is not very common in most of the development projects. So I found it is very interesting, even based on my past experiences. And in this project, I'll say, like, if we are involving citizens, it makes our project sustainable and less cost. It also reduce the cost because citizens, they participate by their will, and it is also creating their ownership. So they will definitely give you input, and they won't, like, it won't be like, their approach won't be like, okay, someone is doing something, so it is not going to impact us. That kind of attitude won't be there, and they will own this system, so it will be sustainable. Yeah, so these two, like involving citizens and creating ownership, is very important for this kind of solution, develop such kind of digital solution. And then secondly, it is also like using agile methodology. That was really interesting for me to know, because and learn, because it is not only I was involved in implementation, but I was also continuously learning, because this agile methodology, it helps to actually come up with exact solutions. So someone who is sitting at higher level, or like state level or national level, and designing some project and implementing on ground, so there are, most of the time, there are a lot of gaps which is not actually addressing the challenge what people are facing or what kind of solution they require. But if we are using such kind of agile methodology, so we can promptly change our approach, or we can just do little bit change our solutions, so that will help the city for longer term, and it will be much more useful for them.
Thank you, Shabazz. I think it really comes from your heart to say that it's really, a tailor-made solution for the city, and then there's people who are owning it as well. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Shabazz. And I see Lucy has put that the presentations and the recordings will be available on the TUEWAS webinars are also there. So thank you so much for this, for being such a nice audience and for asking so many questions. And we look forward to the next webinar, for which then we will circulate.